for people to join in.
Oh no, I'm ready. I've been ready, dude.
Well, I'm just gonna hit record then,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I never know how to start things, so usually I just start talking,
Yeah,
and then
it's
I usually like cut it when it sounds decent.
I mean honestly, like I feel like no context is the best context when you're starting a podcast.
hmm I hate my voice
Absolutely.
in general too, so like I never listen back to the podcast, so I like to not have to edit stuff.
I mean, I yeah, I still haven't gotten used to the sound of my own voice yet, to be honest with you.
hmm
And when I listen back, I'm like, JD, you're so nasally. You got to talk from your chest, dude.
Well, it's like I didn't realize it, but my voice cracks so much, like just in normal conversation, and I
Oh,
hate it.
it's man, like and I will catch myself when my voice cracks too.
Yeah.
It's usually when I'm like trying to make a big point and therefore it discredits everything I just said.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible. It's awful.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Um, I get so kind of how I like to do things. It never goes according to plan. See, voice
Absolutely.
crack just now.
Right.
I hate it so much. I'm like 12 years old all over again. Uh, but no, I kind of just like to. So I have I have three monitors. So like
Right.
I see you on this one. I
Right.
have one right here with all the edits, and then I have one right here
Right.
with like all the stats.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
if you see me just
Man.
like turning, that's
Oh,
what I'm
oh,
doing.
yeah. Yeah.
um, but no, I'm glad I got you on. You are what I like to call one of the most liked members, I feel like, of the league.
Oh, well, shoot. I That's good to hear cuz I mean, not that I try to put myself down, but I feel sometimes I'm like, JD, you got to watch the attitude, homie, or like it's But
Well,
well, I mean that's good to know though. But
I think so. I feel bad, Mark, if you're listening. I had to apologize to Mark during our game because he was refing our game, and like
right,
you know how much we get into the game
yeah,
and stuff like
absolutely.
that. And I think I yelled at him like 3 plays in a row. And usually
Oh,
I'm not one to like talk during games,
right,
and
right,
so I like felt terrible. Like as soon as the touch, like as soon as they
right,
scored, so I
right,
went up to him. I was like, "I'm so sorry. Like it's just
right,
it's heat of the
right.
moment. I apologize. I
Yeah,
don't mean anything by
right,
it."
right.
Um, so I'm like, I'm not. I try not to.
It's yeah. I'll only get confrontational if somebody starts it.
Yeah.
Like other than that, I try to keep my mouth shut and just run the best or just play the best I can
Yeah.
necessarily. But probably the only closest thing to a scuffle I got into was the final week of the regular season. We're playing the Chiefs,
Yeah.
and that was tough for me because I'm a Chiefs fan, and so having to play, and
Having to play
so
the Chiefs.
well, that, and I was thinking, okay, if we at least get a win, I'll just ask the guys like jokingly, hey, can we throw this game? Like, I don't want to beat my favorite team,
Yeah.
but we needed this win, and so I'm thinking, crap, I actually have to do stuff now. But so I forget, I number three on the Chiefs, man, I forget his name,
Oh,
but
hold
so
up.
I was,
I
well,
forget
yeah,
it.
what's,
I'll pull it
yeah,
up. I usually have the
yeah,
roster in front of me.
um,
Whoever's number 3 on the Chiefs, I'm sorry it's taking us a second.
right,
You Will, I'm
Yeah,
dumb.
Will. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Which Will, if you're listening, shout out to you. You're a great player.
He's a great player.
Again, I'm sorry about the elbow, but anyway, so I'm running. So I'm running around, and I accidentally elbow him to the face. Total accident. I don't know why. I just decided to chicken wing it for a second. I
Mhm.
really don't know why. And so, and so, the play after that didn't score the touchdown, but so then like I had never been pressed before like in
Mhm.
coverage at all, and so I'm getting pressed. I'm like, okay, like just he's just trying to force me to the outside, like no big deal. And
Right.
so then I'm like, pushing off of him, like, all right, if you're gonna press me, I should be able to push off of you. And so then like I'm like still being pressed. I'm like, okay, dude, what is going on? And then so I look over at Charlie, like, do you see this guy? And so um I don't think he got called for it, but regardless.
Yeah.
And so, but like, I apologize. I'm like, dude, I totally didn't mean to like elbow you. He's like, no, you're all good. And so, but
so
yeah,
so me and Will went to high school together for a couple years. He
uh
went to
huh,
Shawnee, I think it's freshman sophomore year. and then he went to Springfield Junior Senior. I think.
Uh-huh.
Will correct me if I'm wrong, but so like I've known him forever,
Right.
and during our game when you said you just elbowed him in the elbowed him in the face, it was a fourth down. They had fourth and goal.
Uh-huh.
He was playing quarterback, and I go up to Caleb. I'm like, I'm gonna blitz. I was like, just
Uh-huh.
because I don't want him to move around or do anything because he's a
Right.
shifty guy. So I was like,
Yes, he is.
I'm gonna blitz and just hold my ground.
Yeah.
So I blitzed and ended up smacking him in the face. Like, didn't even
Oh.
mean to,
Right.
but it was like violently. I smacked him in the face with my left hand. Like, I don't know if I was swinging to like he juked and I
Right.
was swinging,
Right. Right.
but
Right.
all I know is I smacked him in the face. I was like falling, and then I grabbed his flag and sacked him. I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
I was like, I guess I was my bad.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you got the sack though. That's what,
I got the sack.
like
That's all that matters.
I mean, our first game against the Patriots, which I looked at all the scores when you sent them to me, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to see how badly we did against all those teams. And so I saw the first game against the Patriots. I didn't know the score was that awful, but I felt like I was having a great game because I managed to sack oh my God, what's the quarterback's name for the Patriots? Oh shoot, number 4.
Talking
Why
about
am I
Clayton.
Clayton?
Clayton.
Yeah, Clayton. Yeah, Clayton. I'm so sorry, Clayton. Whoever's listening and I talk about you, I'm sorry if I disrespect you by not remembering my name. I swear to God, I know all of you, but I don't.
I know all of your
Um,
faces, but putting a name to
yes.
the face, yes.
Um, and I the only sack I ever remember getting is this one, and I managed to sack him behind the goal line. We get a safety. Not that it helped or anything like that, but I
Yeah.
tried to hit my best Brian Burns Spider-Man, celebration. It looked
Yeah.
terrible replaying it in my head, but so.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I like
Oh,
I like doing this because I like being able to. I'm a really statistical person, as
yeah,
well as
so am
like
I. Yeah,
as well as like a very visual person. So
right,
we can do the scores every week, but the reason
right,
I say it every week on this, but like how I even started doing this was I just wanted to know the standings. And
right,
like it hadn't been sent yet. I know it was only the second week, but I was just doing
right,
the standings myself. And in the process of doing the standings, Caleb sent me the standings. So I was just like, well,
right,
I might as well just finish what I was already doing.
right,
And then I was just kind of doing point differential and then recorded as kind of just explaining what I was doing. And so
right,
just sent it to Charlie and I was like, if you want me to do it every week, like I'd love doing this. So I
right,
will go hard in the paint if you want
right,
me to.
right, right,
So it was nice that he kind of gave me the green light for it. And it gave me an opportunity to kind of, I don't want to say do what I wanted, but like
right,
have guys on here all the time that like veteran guys that
right, right,
everybody knows, but might like just seeing your side of the
right,
games or
right,
your
right,
perspective on your thoughts.
right,
So,
right,
because it's I didn't like talking to myself. I know I did it last week, but I'm like nobody wants to hear just me talk. I was like,
right,
it's nice to have that
right,
conversation. So it's nice to bring guys on that
right.
have been in the league for a while. I mean, what season is this for you?
Um, I mean, I've been here since the beginning, so in
I was gonna
total, this is
say,
my fifth season, I think.
yeah,
So, and like if we're counting all the fall leagues, all the spring leagues, this is my fifth season.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
So like, I think because I've had Isaac on, I've had Xavier on, I've had Josh on. If I forget somebody, I'm so sorry. But yeah, I just like having the veteran
yeah,
guys on
yeah,
here because it gives a perspective,
right.
but especially to see how the league has changed. Because we have 6 teams. Has it always been 6 teams?
Uh, I know that, or no, because when we first started, it was 4 teams. Um, that first spring league, I think it was, I think that first spring league was 4 teams also. That's what I remember.
Okay.
Um, and then I know that I remember the first year you started playing was the second fall league we had
Yes.
when I was on the Patriots and we won it all and I'll never ever let that live that down. But um but there were 6 teams then and then we've just kept the ball rolling because it just makes playoffs more interesting
I think it
too.
works really
So
well.
yeah, it does. It really does.
And because I've talked with other guys on here about expanding to 8 if you have the guys.
Right.
But I think you would have to find some sort of incentive to be the number 1 seed,
Right. And
or
yeah.
like only 6 teams make the playoffs or something. You would just have to find
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. It's yeah. Yeah.
Obviously because we're playing for the love of the game.
Right.
And I
Right.
mean, at the end of the day, like how we were talking about tempers flaring at some points, like
Right.
I have to
Right.
like bring myself to center again and be like, it's a church league.
Right.
We're fine.
Right. It's right.
I have to
Yeah.
go to work tomorrow and I'm trying not to
Right.
pull
Right.
anything.
Well, that's. I mean, right. That's. And I have to do the same thing too. Like I'll let myself sulk for a little bit. I mean,
Hmm.
I think everybody does that. Um, but in the end, it's just a a game that we love with
Exactly.
doing it with a bunch of great guys. And I have to go to work on Monday too, and so
Hmm.
I'm not gonna let it influence my mood for the rest of the week and different
Right.
things like that. So that's it's ultimately you have to know yourself, and you know everybody likes to win, but just
Yeah, I know what you mean.
you have to snap out of it at
Yeah,
some point. So
exactly. um, well, real quick, we'll hop into kind of an updated playoff bracket. I know the Facebook just posted it, I think
yep.
yesterday, this morning.
Yeah.
One of those. But obviously, both of us playing in the 2 games that played this past weekend. So I'm sorry to say the Patriots advancing over you guys, but I have to say that was a heck of a game.
That look, it took us 6 games. It took us 6 games. Okay, it was a loss, but it didn't feel like we
it,
lost.
it
If that
didn't
makes
feel
sense.
like it to
No,
you.
it's like I mean, like I'm used like with this season at least, I'm used to being down by either 20 or over at halftime. We were
Mhm.
only down by 1 at
Yeah,
half,
exactly. And that
and
was
and
didn't they have a late touchdown to make
they,
it that at half?
I think they did, and they went for one and they got it.
Hmm.
Because but we had the lead for a bit in that
Hmm.
game, which surprised me also. And so I'm thinking, like my thoughts at halftime were, okay, at this point, I don't even care if we win this game, as long as we continue to just play like we're
Just
playing and
compete.
just
Yeah.
it's right. And I feel like everybody just played their best football that they have that season or that they did that season. And like we were missing 2 guys.
Hmm.
Jay, got hurt outside of
Yep.
football.
Yep.
And then Hunter didn't show up. But I mean, shoot, both teams played great football. Um, Offensively, we finally got moving. Defensively, I would say in the first half of that game, we struggled a bit. We had a lot of easy one play touchdowns from
Hmm.
Clayton to JMO.
Hmm.
Um, like I
We've all
think
felt
three.
that.
Yeah, well, yes, we have. Um, uh, but I'm thinking, all right, guys, like we just can't, like stop. At halftime we finally talked like, okay, we got to contain JMO. Like
Hmm.
that's the biggest thing. Like above all else, contain JMO and Kevin. That's all we
Yes.
got to do.
Hmm.
And so, we finally kind of got that under wraps. Um, but other than that, the Patriots just finally became the Patriots again, and they just started doing things differently, and I think they just caught on to our defensive scheme.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, other than that, we played great football, and ultimately, I think that's the most fun anybody has had on our team that entire season.
Yeah,
So
I would agree. I mean, it was a fun game to watch. We were warming up in the end zone, in the far end zone, and I can tell you, us and the Chiefs were both watching,
yeah,
like intently watching
yeah,
that entire game. Like we both went from like warming up and doing routes to literally like the last 3 minutes. All of us are just so invested in this game
right,
to see what
right,
happens. And I mean, it kept going back and forth. You guys really didn't
yeah.
even quote unquote lose it until I feel like the last minute.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I I had flashes of thinking we might win this game.
Hmm.
I mean, I kept in perspective, of
Yeah.
course. I'm not saying that I doubted our team, but at the same time, I like there were flashes of we might actually win this game.
Yeah,
So at least rolling into halftime, I was thinking with just how the Patriots were playing in the first half that we would have had a shot
right.
to win it. And we lost by what 14 points, something like that, two
14.
touchdowns. Yeah, yeah, we lost by 14. But I mean, at the same time, that's
It.
probably one of the greatest games that
I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of one of the to us. It's like we always talk about again every week. If you can
right.
stop a team 3 times, you have a
Yeah,
chance
yeah,
because of how much scoring there is in this league,
yes,
and like you said, how
yes,
many one play drives that you just never know.
yes. Right.
Like if you can stop them a couple times, you have a shot. And I mean, a
Absolutely.
14-point game is dang near a coin flip.
It really is. Because you have to think about like there's no like long sustained drives like the NFL. Like
Right.
there's no kicking of any kind. Like you just get the ball back,
Hmm.
and it's just I don't care how good of a quarterback you are. Like a bad decision is going to happen at some point, or your guy is just going to slow down or stop running their route, and next thing interception.
Yeah.
And there's only like what 5 guys to try and get one person, but you can
Hmm.
just dodge and weave, and
Yeah.
so it's yeah. I mean, this entire league is literally any given Sunday.
It
Like
is.
it
Well,
really is.
and that's why we kind of went into every week, literally me and Caleb. So Caleb kind of runs the offense for us, and I kind of run the defense.
Right,
And when I say kind of, we run the first series, and then it's like
right,
we need to scrap our entire game plan and try
right,
something else. That's just how it is.
right, right,
But it is really any given Sunday, and we never looked at anything on the schedule. So like when we went to play you guys the second time,
right.
we literally were like, they didn't have you. I think the first time we played you guys, I don't even think you were there. Were you there week 1?
Yeah, I was there for
Okay.
every game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you only had like 5 players week 1.
I, w-
If I remember, I know you grabbed a couple players off of other
I,
teams.
oh, that I know that. Oh, I think that was week 6 and we only had 5 because I remember we had to grab 2 guys from the Chargers. I
Okay.
think to make
Um,
it.
yeah. But
Yeah.
regardless, we went into week 5 when we were playing you, and we were saying we we played them last when they didn't have all of their guys. And so it was hard I know it was hard on Evan because he was running deep constantly, wasn't able to get a sub pretty much. So it was
Right.
like all of you guys were kind of playing both ways and didn't have the
Yeah.
opportunity.
Hmm.
Because even when you have subs from other teams, like it's nice to get
Right.
a break, but you don't want them to
Right.
play a lot.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
and so we went into the game. Legit was nervous because I'm like, I don't know what they're gonna come out and do.
Right.
And so I was like, I don't know if
Right.
they're just gonna take deep shots, if they're just gonna like pick their way
Right.
down the
That's
field.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's
I agree when you say any given Sunday. So
yeah.
kind of as a segue, I mean, as I said, um, Patriots getting that win over you guys, but in a complete shootout. I mean, 78 to
Yes.
64.
Right.
Patriots, if you include playoffs, now have the number 1 offense, but I'm
Right.
without including playoffs are still at 2.
Right.
And then us getting the win over the Chiefs, kind of in a defensive battle because 40 to 26.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
we,
That's yeah.
we and even then, I think at halftime it was literally only like 18 to 12 or something. Like it was
Wow.
not, or it was a 18-14 at half. We were down
Right.
4,
Wow.
and it was just like we literally went into halftime and we were like, we can't score. Like we don't know what's happening. So our
Right.
game plan was like, you know what, let's just try a couple different things, see what sticks.
Right.
And then our plan defensively. So our plan defensively going into the game was all right. We know they're gonna try and run a 2 quarterback system because we saw what they did against you guys. So we
Right.
were like,
Yeah.
they're gonna have Dawson
Right.
at quarterback and run Will
Mhm.
kind of on the kind of as a second quarterback.
Mhm.
So we were like, all right, if it's just Dawson, I'm gonna blitz, or whoever is the free player is gonna blitz, and we're just gonna play man straight across the board and just hope either I sack him or
Mhm.
force a bad throw. If
Right.
they do the 2, um, same thing. If Will was just quarterback, we would just send one,
Right.
And then if they did a two quarterback system, we were going to send two people, like
Right.
just straight at each one of them.
Right.
So it worked to a degree, but Will being so shifty and
Yeah.
even Dawson being able to get throws off,
He I mean, to Dawson's credit, you would not think
he
that
can
he's the
move.
player. Yes, he can. Well, and I in going going into halftime against the Chiefs in Week 6,
Yeah.
just basically they told me my job was if Dawson cuts across the middle, which he did just about every time,
Mhm.
like just stay on him.
Mhm.
And I like to think that I can move. I like to think that. I don't know for sure. I like to think that.
I think you
But
can.
but just it's so hard to it's so hard to cover Dawson.
It
It
is.
it really is. It's yeah.
I
Yeah.
guarded him towards the end of the game, and I literally went up to him and was like, "I'm gonna bear hug you every
Yeah.
single time because
Right.
you plant on a dime, and
Yeah, he does.
I can't get there like fast enough." So I was
Yeah.
like, "I'm sorry, I'm gonna hold you every play and just see if they
Exactly.
call it."
Right.
But
Oh
no,
man.
it was a great game. Definitely a defensive battle. I know there was some controversy at the end, kind of when tempers flared.
Yeah.
But we even talked about, um, and I know it's more of a league thing because we ran into like a rule situation. If a play was a fumble or a play was a first down.
Right.
So we even talked about solutions, and we were even saying like you could have a third referee, but then you'd have to pay for a third referee. I was like, then you could. I know the captain's typically ref, so it's like something kind of unavoidable. That's a word.
Right. Right.
But just something to look into in the future, because it
Right.
is hard to make a decision with two refs. But it is kind of nice that Charlie is there usually to take kind of
Right.
break the
Right.
tie.
Right.
So we ran into that issue, but needless to say, I mean, like I said, defensive battle. Uh, the Texans will be playing the Chargers. The Chargers do open up as 7-point favorites. So that means the Ravens are taking on the Patriots for the third time this year.
Oh man.
The Ravens open up as 2-point favorites.
Ooh.
So the past two times the Patriots have been favored, and have
Right.
dropped both games. The first time they played, I believe, let me pull up the score. 48-38 was the score. And
Okay.
then the second time they played was 42-40.
Okay.
And
Wow.
I'm pretty sure both games came down to the last kind of possessions.
Right.
So I'm really excited for that game. Um,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and then even Texans Chargers. It's actually I'm excited because I wasn't able to play the Chargers week 6. And so I'm just glad I get to be on the field for that one. Playing a couple just former teammates.
Yep. Mhm.
Um, so definitely excited for that. Kind of going into like what I liked to call the road to the championship. So starting with the Chargers, obviously having the bye week this first
Yep.
week, but playing the Texans, having a 53.33% chance to win, according to math and statistics, if I did it correctly. And then their most likely opponent in the championship would be the Ravens, and they'd have a 48.8% chance to win that one. So actually, Ravens favored all the way through the playoffs.
Wow.
Obviously finishing the season 5-1, the regular season. So seeing if they can get that win over the Texans, which I hope they don't. But maybe I'm a little bit biased. But rolling right into the Patriots.
There's nothing. There's nothing wrong with being biased. There's nothing wrong with being biased.
Rolling into the Patriots, obviously getting the win over you guys, 78-64 in that complete shootout. Um, Not favored against the Ravens this week. Come in at, like I said, 2-point underdogs, have a 49.09% chance to win. And then most likely opponent, if they were to make the championship, would be the Chargers with a 51.86% chance to win. So they went out, they would end up 7-2 on the year entirely. So not bad at all. Again, like I said, having that first ranked offense now,
Right.
technically points wise. And then that's still, I'm pretty sure, still second ranked defense. I didn't actually do those this week because I just,
Right.
but I mean, pretty consistent all year.
Absolutely.
Obviously, only losing to the Ravens, so I'm excited for this matchup. Because I've always said, and even in my coaching years and playing years, we've always said, and I mean, you as an NFL fan know, playing your division rivals twice in a year,
Mhm.
it's very hard to beat a team once. It's
Mhm.
even harder to beat a team twice, and then if you
Mhm.
see him a third time, it's just a
Mhm.
toss up. So
Uh huh.
definitely excited for that game. I think they're the early game as well, so I'll try and get there a little bit early. But flip side, Ravens having the bye week, only lost to the Chargers this year. That 60-36 loss to the Chargers in week 2. But this week have a 50.9% chance to beat the Patriots. So again, kind of a toss up, as I said, only a 2 point differential. Their most likely opponent in the championship, if they were to make it, would be the Chargers with a 51.1% chance to win, finishing that regular season 5-1. Although the one question for me is that overtime game to the Chiefs in week 5. They went overtime with the Chiefs, again, came down last possession.
Yeah. Yep.
Ended up winning 54-48. We've even talked about it before. There aren't, obviously, we rank based off record, but there really aren't bad teams in this league.
No, it's. I mean,
I will say teams have their weeks because we played the
yes.
Ravens and we got destroyed 72-12.
That's. I mean, well, like I looked at the first time we played the Patriots in the
Mm.
regular season. They dropped the 80 bomb on us. And it's and honestly anymore, I can't even judge a team in the regular season
No.
because I mean, what the mindset I've always kept from basically from last fall league to up to this year, and even still, is that you are just practicing for the playoffs because every team makes the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
and like you're given 6 weeks to
To
figure it out.
prepare. Yeah.
And so, and if you win along the way, that's great. If you don't win a single game, woohoo,
Yeah,
that's great
exactly.
too.
Who
That's
cares?
fine. Yeah, but and here's the thing, you know, like take a look at the our game against the Patriots. We looked like a completely different team coming out against them.
Then
I mean,
past weeks,
it's
yeah.
right. Yes, absolutely. Um, and so statistics are great, and they and who knows, maybe the final matchup will be the Ravens Chargers,
Yeah.
and regardless, that'll be absolute cinema if it is.
Yeah.
But it's again, it's any given Sunday, and in this league, shoot, again, a team could just have that week, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's yeah.
Yeah.
And the way I see it, I'm thinking that the two teams, what the Patriots and you guys, the
Texans, yeah.
Texans, you guys played last week, so you're still kind of
A little
synced up.
fresh, yeah.
Yeah, you're
Not
still
fresh,
synced up.
but yeah, yeah.
You're still synced up in that regards, and so and the Ravens and Chargers have had that week off.
Right.
Granted they did play in the scrimmage and different things
Mm-hmm.
like that, but at the same time, it's
They know it doesn't count. So
right, right. Whereas you guys, everyone else in the playoffs, it's win or go home.
right.
So it's so there's a lot on the line, and I feel like you play your best football when
I
that
agree.
is the case.
I
So
agree. Yep. And even kind of going into the Texans, I mean, obviously we had that win against the Chiefs 40-26 in a complete defensive battle. We got the Chargers this week, 46.66% chance to win. We are 7 point underdogs. And then our most likely opponent in the championship, if we were to make it, would be the Ravens with a 45.14% chance to win. Ravens do have the number one defense. It doesn't help that I'm in back-to-back weeks they held opponents to 12 and 18 points respectively. Sadly, that was our two teams. So their defense is legit. I think we literally had 5 interceptions that game and
mm,
a couple fumbles, and it's just like we got beat before we even were at
right,
halftime.
right,
So I'm not saying it's impossible, but obviously the Texans are the underdogs in this story against those top three. But if the Texans were to do it, would finish 5-3 on the season. Um, with technically the last ranked offense and fourth ranked defense in the regular season. Again, don't know what it is right now. I didn't really calculate playoffs, but we did some things last week um, that I think will help our offense. So we'll put it to the test. We'll see. I'm excited
Yeah.
for this week. But I think it will be really good matchups, as well as I really am excited for this year doing the Pro Bowl. I think it's a
Hmm.
unique thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so can you kind of explain thought process on how that went? Does that make sense?
Uh, um, on either the selection or just
Just
or
in general, like who,
yeah.
like how it was brought up, because I don't think we've heard of that
w-
yet.
well, so I mean, I don't want to take credit for it, but I think it was last year I brought it up, because as a team, because last fall league brought it up, and in years past, gotten eliminated, first round of playoffs, different things
Hmm.
like that, and so it's fun to watch, like other teams and different things like that, but at the same time, you kind of want to get out there and play and do your own thing, and so I just mentioned to Charlie like, hey, like what if we had a Pro Bowl sort of thing, and I just mentioned, because in Pro Bowl instead of one of the things that they do now is they have a dodgeball game. So I'm
Right.
thinking, hey, why don't guys from teams that get eliminated in the playoffs would just have a friendly game of dodgeball, different things like that.
Yeah.
And so I know last spring league it wasn't talked about, and then I remember getting the text from Mark in the group chat of hey, we're doing a Pro Bowl this year and different things like that, and and that players would be select players for the teams, and honestly, looking at all the players that were selected, I think that they're all great picks
I think it's gonna be fun.
yeah. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah. I'm very excited for it.
I'm
So
I'm definitely excited. I'm glad it was brought on. I think it was a good idea because when it was first mentioned in our group chat, we were like, "Well, how are people going to pick? Are we going to do like an all league vote?" And then when it
right,
was told that the team that eliminated them would pick, I'm like, "I think that's good because it gives some
yeah,
respect to the game you just played and saying like
right,
we had problems with you."
right,
You're a great player, whatever.
right.
So I know when we were deciding, so just giving a shout out to all the players that were selected for the Oilers. I know Mark, Ashton, Daniel, and Evan all selected to the Pro Bowl for
Yeah,
you guys.
yeah,
All great players. I mean, we had problems
absolutely.
with all of them. Ashton is still in my nightmares returning
Oh,
to
that's oh man, like I mean, oh, he's
He's fast.
yes, he is. Like I mean, in terms of breakneck speed, or just in terms of speed, I think the three fastest players in the league are probably, in no certain order, are Ashton, JMO, and Garrett Pridemore from the Chargers. Like, I mean, shoot, you and I both played with him.
Yes.
Go dogs. So, like, and just like all of them can move, but Ashton, he will surprise you in so many ways, and he just like yeah, he's absolute great pick for
Has he played before?
So
I
he
f-
played in um okay, he did not play last year, but he played
was it?
in the Patriots with the first Patriots team.
Okay. Okay.
So
Gotcha.
yeah, he was for he was with the Patriots. Yeah, but
Okay.
he was yeah.
He's fast. I remember when we
Yes,
were
he
doing
is.
our little scouting report
Yeah,
and we were like, we just need to not throw it his way.
right,
Or we need to rally. And I
right.
mean, he got literally, I think, 3 interceptions on us. Two of them were
Yeah,
returned for 2 point conversions.
right.
And we were like, that's just such a problem. So shout out to all those guys. And then Chiefs, we who were picked, we got Will Finch, Dawson, Chris, and Cameron. So again,
Yeah,
all four great picks. I know we had problems with all four of them.
right.
Again, Will, we had to game plan around. Dawson, we had to game plan around. Chris, we avoided his side a
Right.
lot because I know he's in that defensive player of the year kind of conversation.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
And then Cameron, we literally were like, you got to double team him. We are like, whoever's that
Yeah,
free safety,
yeah,
he's going to
yeah,
go deep. You just have to run with
right.
him. So
It's, I mean, like yeah, again, another one of those just quick guys
yeah,
that, like, and with the the whole group of guys that just joined this year, I feel like the skill level of the league just shot up like
yes,
immensely. Yes, it did.
we
And
yes,
it's just, but it keeps you on your toes even more as
mm,
a defense or offense. Um, but Cameron, he can just change the setting of the game so quickly.
yes,
Like it's incredible to
it
be honest
is,
with you.
it is, and like we've talked about it in previous weeks with other people. The level of talent that is in this season versus other seasons. I used to go into Sundays, like in my past 2 seasons or season and a half, whatever you want to consider it, and just be like, oh, okay, like I can run with everybody here. Like,
Right.
not to be whatever, but all of us were pretty much same skill level. Like,
Right.
we were
Right.
we were fine. But
Right.
I remember we were playing like the first and second game, and I'm like exhausted trying
Yeah.
to keep up with certain people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would wake up Monday morning and I'm like, my legs hurt.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like the skill
Yeah.
level that is here. And I'm like, I'm just mentally exhausted trying to figure out their offensive scheme, what they're
It's
doing and
right.
stuff like that, and trying to read their defense. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm legitimately playing football every week.
Yeah.
Like,
It's I mean, right, and and you know, usually I feel comfortable on, slant routes or drag routes or whatever you want to
mhm,
call it because I found my stride this season as, like second on the totem pole as center. Mark and I, we switched out, just like did a tandem center thing. It worked out great.
mhm,
And then on defense, I hopped in at safety a couple of times, did not see a lot of action there.
mhm.
But, I'm what I call the linebacker. I'm the guy in
Yeah.
the middle. I'm there to cover the center and, or,
Mhm.
whoever comes my way. I usually stay in zone. I'm hardly ever in man coverage.
Yep.
Um, but it just with the speed of everybody, and everybody wants to, run
Run the
crossing
crossers.
routes
Yep.
to you, and I'm having to pick in about 2 seconds of time. Okay, who am I gonna take? And just and like try to stick with them, or just stay in front of the quarterback. Not necessarily blitz, but at least try to block their line of vision when they throw the
Mhm.
ball or when they're about to.
Mm.
Just to try and throw them off. That has worked before.
Yeah.
Um, but just with the speed and intensity that this year has had, I mean, it's by halftime, I feel like I'm ready to take my cleats off and
And be done. Yes.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
So I mean just the talent like we said. Kind of the talent aspect and what is in the league now is why I kind of checked with Charlie and was like, "Do you care if I do offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, MVP?" Because
right,
once that Pro Bowl stuff rolled around, I'm like, "Can I give individual league awards?" I was like,
right,
because obviously it doesn't mean any like obviously it
right,
means something from your
right,
peers. You're not gonna get an award
right,
to walk across the stage, but
right.
it's just something fun to do. I'm like, because the level of talent is just so crazy now. So I
It
mean,
is,
I won't reveal anybody's votes obviously because I can't see who voted
right,
anyway. But
right,
um, I will say the last time I checked was yesterday morning. So I'm sure there's some votes that have been submitted since then. But um, one thing that I did think was really cool um, was for offensive player of the year and defensive player of the year, every team had at least one nomination for
yeah,
each one. So I'm
right,
like, there's just a level of athletes and just what people think, like what your peers think of you.
right,
So I will kind of give a little bit away. I won't give people away because obviously they still have a week to vote. But
right,
the Chargers are actually leading the offensive player of the year voting, not in total votes, but in like they have 5 people nominated for
right,
offensive player of the year.
right,
The Ravens, on the flip side, have 5 people nominated for defensive player of the year. So
right,
it kind of aligns really well with the Chargers
right.
having, I
It
believe, the
it
second or third ranked offense, and the Ravens having that first ranked defense. It translates
it
pretty
it
well.
does, it does, it
Um,
does.
but kind of like I said, rolling into that, I mean, we have the Pro Bowl votes. Obviously, 2 more teams will sadly get eliminated this next week, and 8 more players will be selected to the Pro Bowl.
Right,
Um, but so kind of as I've just mentioned before, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but kind of just on my last note, for anybody listening that hasn't voted or hasn't done the nominations for Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, I'll try and put the link down below this. It will close Sunday after both of the games, so I think that's the 27th.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
it
will
is.
it will close this upcoming Sunday after both games. Nominations will close. As soon as they close, I will put up voting at like the final voting for offensive and defensive player of the year, as well as nominations for most valuable player. Because the most valuable player has to be from the two championship teams. That's just kind
Right.
of what we decided,
Right.
which makes sense.
Right.
So
It does.
all of that will be voted on. So I believe there's 19 submissions so far, if I'm looking at it correctly, and technically 4 in each category. So whatever 19 times 4 is for each of them. I'm not doing the math,
Nope. Nope.
um, but um, actually I am doing the math in my head. 76, sure. I don't know why I just did that in my head randomly. I don't even think that's right, but anyway, you get my point. So
Right.
voting will end this upcoming Sunday. I've gotten my vote in. Have you voted yet, by chance?
Uh, yes, I think I voted probably about 5 minutes after Mark sent the link
Okay.
in our group chat. So
Okay.
yeah.
Perfect. So we both voted. If you guys want to send your votes in, you have until this upcoming Sunday. You do have until this upcoming Sunday to edit a vote as well. I did make it
Oh,
to where
okay.
you can delete
Gotcha.
names, delete somebody you voted for, re-put
Right.
it.
Right.
So I won't actually tally the votes until after the
Until
games. So,
yeah.
and then it will be the top 4 people in each category, and then we'll vote from there. If there's a tie, I'll include the other people as well. And then if I also see one that's kind of close, I'll include
Right.
it. But really excited for that. I will do a kind of legacy flag football honors podcast.
Oh.
So I haven't thought too much of into it,
Right.
but
Right.
yes,
Right.
I am gonna go all out and try and make it a NFL
Absolutely.
honors. So because why?
Absolutely.
What else do I have to do with my time? So, uh, so I'm excited for that. So, I mean, JD, I'll just kind of get your final thoughts on what you think. Kind of, I always do predictions for the championship. I know you only got 4 teams left, so I'm gonna say,
Right.
obviously, now that you are sadly eliminated from the playoffs, I apologize.
It's hey, you
I
know what? It's it is what it is. With this with the record we have, I think we had a good run. To be
I
honest
did
with
too.
you.
So I won't do my prediction because I am one of those 4 teams, so I just don't want to seem biased. But I would like your unbiased opinion on your championship game, and I'm gonna go a step further and say who is your champion.
Mm. All right. Well, man. So let's start with the early slate.
Okay.
You know, Patriots Ravens.
Yes.
We've played both of those teams. Those were easily probably the two hardest games
Mm-hmm.
that I think that our team has, played. Um the if you look at the score of our game versus the Patriots, it doesn't look great, but at the same time I feel like we did pretty well against them, statistically speaking. But
Right.
against the Ravens, I feel like we had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
It's, just trying to figure that whole team out, especially with Riley Haynes as a quarterback because he can move and he can throw. And honestly, if I'm gonna be honest, I think he might be, dark horse pick for MVP. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what the votes say, but I mean, or offensive player of the year, or
Yeah.
MVP. He can play offense, defense. He can do it all.
Yeah.
MVP. Just give it to him. But honestly, I think that the Patriots are gonna come out on top of that
Okay.
one because I mean their offense just kind of does it all, to be honest with you,
Mhm.
with Kevin, JMO, and Clayton as the quarterback because Clayton has wheels on him too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I know that putting pressure on him that he can move and that he acceleration wise but once he has his speed he can just go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, but I just think that again, the Patriots having a lot on the line this past week, especially against us and how our game went. Um, I think that they're just physically going to be more ready than the Ravens are. Um, and this is if everybody shows up,
Yeah.
and just that Patriots defense too will can pull out a lot of surprises. Um, so I don't know what the final score is going to be, but I think that the Patriots will come out on top and
Okay.
try to make another run for the championship.
Okay.
Um, oh man, Texans and Chargers.
You're not gonna hurt my feelings, I promise. We'll just.
Okay, that's better. That's better knowing that. I think that I think that the first half is going to be good. I think
Okay.
the first half is going to be some great football to watch. Um, and I think in in my head it's going to be neck and neck until halfway through the second quarter, and then one of the two teams is just going to run away with it.
Okay.
Just like I feel like for either your team, the Texans, or the Chargers, it'll just
Mm,
start crumbling. Man, I don't know how, but I'm picking the Chargers. Just
that's
playing
fine.
that team,
Yeah.
it's like their offense is great, but I got to give it to them. Their defense, it's it's not the plays that'll kill you. It's their communication
Yeah.
because out of all the teams, they are the best communicating defense. And having two of their guys against the Chiefs and them just basically giving us a light rundown of how they do defense, like it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And just it's simple, but it's genius and it works. It just
Yeah.
works.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I mean, final score I'm saying 58-22 to be honest
Okay.
with you.
I'm right with it.
So like
Yep.
so like I said, neck and neck, and then just at some point it's just gonna
Just explodes pretty
yeah
much.
it's just yeah for championship
Championship. So you got the number 3 seed Patriots advancing, and being hosted by the number 1 seed Chargers.
yeah
I
and
will say, if I remember doing the math correctly, the Patriots would be favored in the game.
I can see that
If I
I
scroll back to that slide, hang on. Yes, so the Patriots would have a 51.86% chance to win.
wow
So that equates to literally
right
probably a 4-point lead.
right so I mean with that it's just that is going to be an absolute shootout if that matchup does happen
Mm-hmm.
um um man, both offenses are great, both defenses
So
are great.
to give you a reference, they did play in Week 5, and the Patriots did win, handing the Chargers their first loss, 54-34.
Right. I think for those two teams, if they were to face again in the championship, um, it'd be an absolute shootout. Um, and honestly, if two teams do make it, I see the Chargers winning by 2 points
Okay.
in that game. I think, and it's going to come down to the wire. I think it's going to come down to a 2 point conversion. To be honest with
Okay.
you, and I think the chart if that matchup happens, Chargers win by 2.
Okay.
So that's my
I
prediction.
I like it.
I'm
I like
I'm very willing to be proven wrong. So Texans Ravens prove me wrong.
it.
Please do. So, but yeah,
No,
but
I
there
like it.
but yeah, that's my prediction. That's my legacy flag football bracket so far. So
Oh, I like it, man. Now I appreciate you coming on with me kind of last minute, um, and giving your input on things. That was probably the most detailed one I've gotten. I definitely am excited for this week, as not just because I'm playing in it, but just the league
right,
itself. I think it's grown a lot, and I'm just doing my part and doing my best to try and help it grow as well.
right.
So I mean, again, shout out to everybody that's been selected for the Pro Bowl, and that has been nominated for one of the awards so far. Again, I kind of only am the only one who knows who you are right now,
Right.
but I will release all the voting later. Don't worry, I'm not cheating anybody. But no, man, I appreciate you coming on. It's always good to get a kind of veteran perspective as well as from another team, to get that unbiased, unfiltered everything. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on at the last minute, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thank you for having me on here and, considering having me on here and yeah, and this has been fun just to, really talk in depth about it. So, it's been great.
Exactly, man. Well, are you going to be there Sunday, or are you not?
Yeah, I plan on being there.
All right,
So,
man. Well,
yeah.
hopefully I put on a show for you. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
Yeah,
right.
again, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
All right, man. It was good talking to you, and I appreciate you. Have a good rest of your night, man.
Yep, you too.